Now, you may wonder, why do we need to provide financial incentives? Because, as has been outlined, biomass in particular compared to home heating oil, you have significant savings already, 50, 60% possibly of your savings. But we find that, the initial capital costs of renewable technologies mean that they're still quite prohibitive, and then there's other barriers that have been talked about in terms of understanding. It's a behavioural change for some people. The concept of putting in a heat pump, digging up your garden or digging up premises to put this in. There means there's a number of factors that, even though in many scenarios it's cost effective, installers will not take this step without a financial incentive. So the premium payment scheme is currently operating for domestic customers with support ranging from £320 to £3,500 depending on the technology. And the RHI provides, rather than an upfront grant, it's an ongoing financial support mechanism where support lasts for the lifetime of the technology to a maximum of 20 years, with tariffs really designed to cover the additional costs of renewable heat, really trying to spread out those capital costs and factor in those sort of non-financial costs as well, and give a return on investment to make it worthwhile and attractive. Just by illustration, these are the tariffs that are currently in place for the non-domestic market in Northern Ireland. So the tariffs are banded by technology and they're banded by size, and then we award a pence per kilowatt hour figure towards. So for biomass, for a large sort of or medium scale biomass system over 100 kilowatts, be £0.015 per kilowatt hour, and once it drops below that, it's closer to 6 pence per kilowatt hour, showing that the increase in size makes things more cost effective already, and the more fuel you're buying, the greater savings you're making, and therefore the more cost effective the project. So technology is currently supported at our ground source heat pumps, biomass, biomethane and solar thermal. And just to explain maybe in more detail, how we come up with these tariffs, is basically the RHI is trying to compensate investors for all the additional costs of renewable heat, and that's, as I said, the capital costs, maybe financing costs, the barrier costs, if there's any difference in fuel or operating costs. And we look at, what would oil cost you in one scenario, what would renewables cost you in the other scenario, what's the difference, and we try and boil that down to a pence per kilowatt hour cost figure. And then a rate of return is included to stimulate interest, and that's at about 12%. The rate of return is added in. Because it is an unknown marketplace, because financing for these projects is difficult, and because it's maybe a big behaviour change for some customers. Payments are made on a quarterly basis for the lifetime of the technology, and once the installation is accredited by Ofgem, the GB energy regulator, that's what your tariff will be for the lifetime of the technology. The only change would be an annual adjustment with RPI. Basically, what we're trying to do is make renewables as attractive, if not more attractive, than on oil. So people who are on oil, there's a good incentive for them to move across to renewable technology. Just to provide an update on where we are to date with the scheme, the commercial scheme's been running for about 12 months, just over 12 months, and the domestic scheme running for slightly longer, and close to 30 megawatts of new renewable heat capacity has been installed in Northern Ireland to date. 100 in the commercial sector, actually I think that's more now, it's about 120, and close to 850 domestic installations. Biomass really is the fuel of choice, which is different from GB, where there's a lot of heat pumps going in. Solid biomass is the fuel of choice in Northern Ireland, with all of the commercial systems going into place so far have all been biomass, though there are some large ground source heat pumps ones currently being installed, and nearly half of the domestic installations being biomass. So there's probably, in the last 12 months, close to 22, 23 megawatts of new biomass capacity installed in Northern Ireland on the heat side of things. The uptake in the Northern Ireland scheme has been positive compared to the GB scheme. When we compare the first sort of 14 months of both of the schemes, which the RHI in GB and the RHI in Northern Ireland, we see that the RHI in Northern Ireland has been about 6.5% of applications compared to GB, 7% of accreditation, and 4.2% of heat capacity has been installed. The Northern Ireland heat market compared to GB is about 2.8, 3%. So that's where we'd expect to be. Trailing GB about 3%. So anything north of 3% shows that the NI scheme is performing well. I suppose there's a number of factors of that. Some have been touched on. Trevor pointed out that Northern Ireland has a good history in terms of companies involved in this sector. Biomass is well established to a certain extent compared to in GB. The fact that we're on displacing oil means that the high energy cost of oil means a jump to renewables. The jump is less than it would be in GB, where people are jumping from gas to renewables. Also, the fact people are on oil means the behaviour change is perhaps less because people are used to buying fuel in bulk, storing it, and filling up every couple of months like you would do for biomass. The natural gas market slightly more different how it works. So Northern Ireland is well placed to promote renewables and particularly promote biomass.